So why have I picked this topic? If you don't try, you will never know. The reason that I've picked this topic today is because I've recently returned from a 2-week vacation. And during that time, so I was celebrating a big milestone birthday. And in addition to that, I did something I had never done before. And what I realized after kind of reflecting on that experience of something that I now wish I'd tried when I was younger is that, well, firstly, age is just a number. It's never too late to learn or to try new things. And also, you just never know what you will be passionate about, what you'll enjoy, or what you're truly capable of. And that's something I've talked about before. It's taking those big steps, trying new things. And the old adage of stepping outside of your comfort zone enables you to realize what you are truly capable of. And by staying safe, staying comfortable, staying in that place of familiarity and having that certainty all the time, yes, it's great. And we all love that. But actually, is that helping us to grow, to develop, to learn, and to stretch yourself? And you may be thinking, well, I don't care. I don't want to stretch myself. I'm not interested. And that's okay. That's okay too. The thing is here is to remember that we're only on this planet for one lifetime, okay? And time is passing us by. Life is short. And I think over the last couple of years in particular, many of us have come to realize that's become much more pertinent to us based on the different experiences that we've had. And for me, it's about not living with regrets. It's about not getting to maybe 50, 60, 70, 80 years old and looking back and thinking, I wish I'd tried that. I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd gone here or gone there or grabbed that opportunity or broadened and created new possibilities for myself. And over the last several years, that's what I've really come to realize that life is about, is the possibilities out there for us, and about letting go of the fear of those possibilities and what could go wrong, but focusing more so on what could go well and the amazing things that could happen. It's a little bit like, there's many people I speak to, during my corporate career and even now, who are working in a company, maybe they've been there for a while, and there's that familiarity, there's that comfort, they have that element of certainty that of what they do every day, of the people that they're working with. It's a bit of a comfort factor. And as I said, that's okay. But where's the growth? Remember, life is about growing. It's about learning. We're all lifelong learners, and it's about experiencing new things. And this is the thing, for all the people that I know, and I know a lot of people who got made redundant during the years that I've been working, people that I had worked with, who initially might have been scared to move, to actually, let's say, resign and go somewhere else, and yet realized that redundancy was the best thing that could have happened to them, not because of the payout, but because it forced them to now explore possibilities and new opportunities. And because they then had no choice, they did. And every one of them that I have ever spoken to over the years has always said it's turned out so much better than they expected. And the experiences are better than they could have imagined. And yes, they may miss their old colleagues, their old role, or whatever it is, the familiarity, the comfort, but they've created something new. And that is, to me, what life is. That's the excitement it brings in. It's about the change. And here's the thing, we all know that change is inevitable. So why not just embrace it and put yourself out there, take that baby step forward and try something new. So do let me know if any of this resonates with you. Tell me if there's something new that you tried recently and absolutely loved it or surprised you more than you thought you would enjoy it. And for me, it's about living your best life, as I said at the start. And that's what this is all about. So life is short and it's a stage. It's a stage that we get to play on. And I had somebody say to me the other day that they procrastinate quite a bit and they have loads of ideas, but they don't follow through on them, and they feel like they've got to wait to be perfect, or they're not ready yet, or they'll refine and refine it and tweak it until they feel that, okay, now the time is right. But actually, when is the right time? Because the time is always ticking by. You know, we cannot get that time back once it has passed. We're given this one opportunity to be on this planet, to be on this earth, to live the life that we choose to, and we get to create that life. Something that you may have heard me talk about before, it's the fact that we do create our life, we do create our reality. How, you might be thinking? Well, we create it by virtue of the beliefs, the thoughts that we have, the values that we hold, the past experiences. All of those things coming together create the reality of where we are today, because we interpret things, we put meaning to things based on all of those factors. So those experiences, the beliefs that we have about something. For example, you might have a belief that, it's at a certain age, it's too late to change career, or to move company, or to go try something new in your personal life. So to give you context, whilst I was away on my vacation, I tried zip lining for the first time, and I absolutely loved it. Fortunately, I don't have a fear of heights. I actually love being high up and getting views, which meant that I also had the opportunity to enjoy a helicopter ride, and I love things like that. So the fear for me with the zip lining was more the stepping off the platform initially, and then when you get to the other side, to the other platform, because I feel like I'm going to go crashing into something. So that was a little bit of fear for me until I got used to it, because we had 8 zip lines to go through. But the point being here, you know, I've just turned 50 years old, and it may be that some people have a belief, oh God, 50, that's a bit old to go and try something like that. Surely you should be doing that in your teens or your 20s. And this is the thing, these are the beliefs that we create for ourselves that will hold us back. I had a conversation recently with somebody who was saying that they're too old to move abroad and to try something new, or that, oh, it's so much harder to get a job because of their age. Now, yes, it will be more challenging, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. And that's the difference, is how much are you prepared to give it a go, to actually try, to ask, to put yourself out there. Because we never know what we're really capable of. We never know what opportunities will come by, or the possibilities that we can create simply from a conversation. So I guess what I'm trying to share with you today is that there are things that you've thought about, things that you think, yeah, I'd like to do that, but maybe it's not for me, or maybe at this point in my life or this stage of my career, it's too late. It is never too late. It is never too late. And I'm sure you see examples across social media all the time of people who are much, much more older than us that have gone out and, you know, broken a record, or, you know, done something outstanding, exceptional, against the norm. And you think, wow, that's just amazing. Imagine if that person is you. Imagine how that would feel. So take time. I invite you to take some time to really think about, let's call it your bucket list. And your bucket list could include things like, you know, bungee jumping, zip lining, whatever it might be. Aspects of your career, things that you may not have tried yet, or you've thought about, or you think, what if? Well, what if? What if it doesn't work? And here's the thing, if it doesn't work, it's not failure. And again, this is a big fear that people have. And the person I spoke to recently, who said she was always waiting for perfection, or when is the right time, and the fear of failure. And I had someone else today who shared that with me. And this is the thing, we all do it. We all place value on other people's opinions, on the judgment of others. We worry about what people are going to think if we do something, particularly if it's something against the norm. And so it's time to let go of those judgments, those opinions of others, and focus on what it is that you want to do. What is the life that you want to be living? How do you want to be feeling every day when you wake up in the morning? Are you jumping out of bed looking forward to the day ahead? Or are you wanting to hide under the duvet and not speak to anyone? And if that's the case, then why? What is it that is stopping you from embracing everything that life has to offer? What is it that's stopping you from trying something new? And as I said, there are going to be fears that come up. For example, there'll be people I've spoken to who have a fear of heights, and therefore something like zip lining would scare them off. And that's okay. You don't have to go and do that. But imagine if you did. Imagine if you did still having that fear, and how that would feel to have accomplished that. You know, several years ago, as part of my training in neuro-linguistic programming, I had the opportunity to walk over broken glass. And the year before, I had attended Anthony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within UPW event here in London. And during that event, I had the opportunity to walk over hot coals. And I had decided at the outset that I would attend the event, but I was never going to walk over those coals. Yet, with, I think it was about 5,000-6,000 people at the Excel in London, I found myself in front of the coal. And so I had to walk across it, and I did, and I made it. Didn't burn my feet. It was amazing. It was empowering. It helped me to realize what is possible and the whole mind over matter aspect of that. And then a year later, as I said, I had the opportunity to walk over broken glass. And I said, absolutely no way. I said to the group at the start of the week, I'm not going to be doing it. I said, I'll go back and do the hot coals, but there's no way I'm walking over that glass. If you imagine, it was a few feet long of broken bottles that were all in a pile, and you had to go through it. You could hear the crunch as you put each step down. And I waited on that day that we were all had the opportunity to do this. I waited until the very, very last before I would do it, because I was so scared, and I was virtually in tears with fear. And I did it. I put one step, baby step, in front of the other, and I walked across that broken glass. And it blew my mind that I didn't have a single scratch on my foot. I didn't fall, I didn't slip, it didn't hurt. It was all good. And there's these little things that I've done over time. And even for me, the zip lining was a great thing for me. I'm sure there's many of you out there thinking, oh, well, that's nothing. I do that all the time. It's not a big deal. And that's great. For me, there was a little bit of fear there because I'd never done anything like that. And actually now a friend of mine highlighted to me something I wasn't aware of, which is Velocity 2. And I checked it out online, and I thought that actually looks amazing. So I've actually made a commitment to myself that at some point this year, I would like to go and do that. And this is the thing, when you discover these new things, you try something new, it's not just about work and career, but it's the bigger, wider world of life. What's next? What more is there for us to discover and to learn? And I think the more people I've been speaking to recently, the more people I realize are just playing small and holding yourselves back and limiting yourself by virtue of those beliefs that you have, whether it's around age or ability or skill set or experience, or, you know, whether you're a man or a woman, or whatever it might be. You know, there's all these things that we put upon ourselves and then hold ourselves back. So start to tune into those beliefs that you are holding about yourself and about your career and about the world at large, and think, are these beliefs really fact? Are they my truth? Where have they stemmed from? Because when you start to recognize where a belief has come from, typically it's more often than not something that's happened when you were younger, maybe something somebody said to you or an experience you had that's now caused you to believe that that is the case in all situations, all circumstances. But actually it's not. But it becomes an irrational belief. And as such, what happens is that it impedes us from trying new things, from doing something different. So I'd invite you to start tuning into the beliefs that you hold. Start with one area of your life. Maybe it is your career, and think about, what do I hold to be true? Actually, is that really the truth, or is that something that maybe happened to me, or I heard somebody say once, and now I'm carrying that with me like it's the Bible, like it's absolute, that's it, and I have to stay and follow that? Well, no, you don't, because the only person who misses out is yourself, no one else. So when we worry about other people's opinions and judgment, just remember that nobody else cares. They may comment, they might have something to say, but the truth is they don't care, because everyone's focused on their own world, their own lives, and what they want. And often when people criticize or are mean, say something mean, it's usually because it's coming from their place of insecurity, or it makes them feel uncomfortable to see you moving forward, growing, progressing. And then there'll be that criticism that comes out. But remember, if you surround yourself with people who are your supporters, your advocates, who want to see you win, then you'll have all of that support, encouragement that you could possibly need. So think about the people that you surround yourself with. Think about the beliefs that you hold that no longer serve you. And when it comes to failure, there is no such thing as failure. Failure is simply a learning. The point here is, if something doesn't work out the way you planned, or you feel like you failed, just ask yourself, what can I take from this? What have I learned from this? What can I do the next time? What could be even better the next time around? Maybe you needed to plan and prepare more. Maybe your focus needs to be different. Whatever it might be, it's not about failing. It's about what could go right rather than what could go wrong. So think about what you're focusing on. Are you focusing on the possibilities and the opportunities, or are you focusing on all of the negatives of how it could go wrong, what people are going to think and say, and how am I going to feel? No. If there's something you've tried once before and it didn't work, maybe it's not for you. Maybe it wasn't the right time. I did a keynote just before Christmas on rejection as a form of redirection. And it's so true, because, everything we go for where we get rejected, let's talk about jobs. If we apply for a job, we get rejected and we feel gutted, our ego is hit. Actually, it's not about that at all, because you know what? Maybe that wasn't the right job for you, or the right company, or you may not have been a good fit in the team, or got on with people, or the manager was going to leave anyway, and then it was someone new who didn't get on with. All of those things could have happened, right? But actually, if you don't get the role, it wasn't for you, or it wasn't the right time. So you try again, or you look for something different. You assess, you take away your learnings from it, and think, what can I do differently? What can I do even better? You may have heard that the quote from Einstein, you keep doing the same thing over and over. It's a what's that? I've forgotten now. If you keep doing the same thing over and over, it's basically a sign of madness. I can't remember the word he uses now. I've just gotten a blank there. But essentially, it's about failure is failure if you keep making the same mistake. If you learn from it, if you take a step back and look at your takeaways and your learnings and what you can do differently, or what you could do better, then it's not a failure. It is a learning. If we choose to pin the label of failure onto things that don't work out the way we planned, we're inhibiting ourselves. We're preventing ourselves, again, from moving forward. As I said earlier, we're the best, we're the guiltiest of holding ourselves back by those self-imposed obstacles that we create for ourselves. And this is a great example of that, of putting the meaning of failure onto something when actually it's not. The meaning you want to be putting onto that is the learning. What is the learning that I get from that? I hope this is making sense. Hi, Nicola. Sorry, I've just seen you there. Hope you're well and you had an amazing Christmas and New Year. And yeah, so let me know if this resonates, if you have any questions, and also if you have any thoughts about what you'd like to do differently, something new that you'd like to try, because that's what this is all about. This is about stepping out and trying something new. because you'll never know what is possible. You never know what you're capable of until you take that leap of faith. And I'm just looking at my notes here just to make sure I've covered everything I planned to. So the other fear is success. In some cases, people fear success and they don't often realize it consciously, but there may be a fear that, let's say, if they move into a director role at work and they're successful at it, well, what would that mean? First of all, there might be judgment from others, and their peer group might have something to say which isn't nice. You just don't know. And then there's fears that come up around that. It might even be that they feel they don't deserve to be there. So the age-old imposter syndrome, and feeling that they're not deserving of that position, and have I actually got here when I don't feel I should be here? So there's a lot of fears around success as well. So you want to check it in with yourself as to what is it that is stopping you, and actually really and truly and rationally, does that make sense? Is that serving you, or is that holding you back? And just to give some examples here, because you might be thinking, well, who am I to be bleating on about this, and like, what have I actually done? In terms of my career, when I set out on my career, I trained as an accountant. I qualified. I worked in finance for a number of years, but then I just realized that whilst I enjoyed it and I found it challenging, I knew there was more. There was more that I wanted to do, and this wasn't it. And I explored that in depth, something I do with my clients now when they're unclear about where they're headed. We go through a number of exercises to get really clear on what lights you up, what you're passionate about, so that then you can go and take that step and try something new. And I ended up moving into recruitment, which sounds all well and good. It's financial recruitment. However, at the time, I was somebody who was incredibly lacking in confidence, very, very shy, was quiet as a church mouse, didn't speak up, didn't make myself known. And I was now going into a role where I'd have to be front-facing, client-facing on a daily basis. But that meant it pushed me, it challenged me, and it changed me. And when I say it changed me, it helped me to build my confidence, to realize what I was capable of, because I was actually shocked at how well I did in the role. And to move me forward in my career to something I would never have planned early on. And, you know, things are evolving now, and it's kind of the work landscape in terms of jobs for life, that's kind of disappeared now. And, you know, it's much more about having various different careers or different roles over the years and different companies. And, you know, for me, when I started out, it was much more about going and joining a company, a job for life. And actually, I did the complete opposite of that, because I did a couple of years in recruitment, and then I went into the technology industry and joined a role in corporate finance. Again, something I'd never had experience of, had to learn from the ground up, but I did it. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is to show that I learned, I proved to myself, anything is possible once we put our mind to it. You know, we can take those risks. The worst thing, you know, ask yourself the question, what is the worst that could happen? Thank you, Nicola. Try something new equals growth. Growth is progress. Progress equals, oh, I love that. I'm going to take that as well. Thank you. Yeah, that's spot on. Growth is progress, and progress equals happiness. And that's when you want to be able to look back on your life and think, yeah, this is the progress I've made. This is what I've achieved, what I've accomplished. Thank you for sharing that, Nicola. And so going back to my career journey, you know, I spent about 6-7 years in corporate finance, you know, a very challenging role. I had to learn to be very adaptable. There was lots of different things coming in over the years in that role. It evolved considerably. And then I moved into a sales role. So a little bit similar to the recruitment. And again, if you'd asked me 25 years earlier, would I ever work in sales? Absolutely not, because I didn't have the confidence. I felt that I was incredibly shy and didn't have the people skills. But over time, that evolved. And because I stretched myself, because I took myself massively, massively outside of my comfort zone, you know, I built up that confidence and the skill set and so forth to be able to do what I then did for almost 10 years at HP. So the point being, what are you capable of? What are you missing out on? What is it that you haven't yet realized you're capable of because you haven't taken that small step? That is the thing. And what I advocate for you is to not be living with regret in years to come when you look back and think, damn, why didn't I grab that opportunity? Why didn't I ask for that promotion? Why didn't I go try something new, whether it's, zip lining or jumping out of a plane or, whatever it is. So just thinking about all of those things, that's the message from me today, is if you don't try, you'll never know. And I invite you to really take some time to look at your bucket list, think about your career. Actually, is it serving you? Is it filling you with passion and fulfillment? What is it you can do differently? Because remember, change is inevitable, and wouldn't it feel better to be in control of your decisions rather than wait for the decision to be made for you? So, for example, waiting to be made redundant if you're thinking about starting your own business or changing company. Wouldn't it be better to actually take the bull by the horns and make that decision for yourself and be in control of your path? Because that is so much more empowering. And you might be looking at me thinking, oh, well, it's easy for me because whatever. But actually, I had some significant challenges along the way when I was making those big decisions. An example of that was when I left or decided to leave accountancy to go into recruitment. I'd had it in my notice, and then literally I was actually due to purchase my first house. So I'd gotten a mortgage, I'd secured a mortgage on my existing salary as an accountant. My salary was about to drop by 50% because obviously in recruitment, you have a very low base salary and then you have commission. And my dad was having a hissy fit, thinking, what on earth are you doing? And I just had faith that it would work itself out. And it did. It honestly did. But because I had that trust and that faith in it, rather than focusing on the, oh my God, this isn't going to work, and lose my house or whatever, right? The other thing is promptly on the day that I was picking up the keys to that very house, so I was still working in the accounting role, my mum then overnight became paralyzed and was diagnosed with cancer. And again, it would have been so much easier at that point, because that was tragic, devastating news for us all, and a huge life change for my mum first and foremost, but for other people around us and our family. So, the easiest thing for me to have done at that point was just, you know what, I'll stay where I am in my accounting job. And by the way, I had that opportunity because my boss at the time he didn't want me to leave, and he said, I think you're making a mistake, and when you change your mind, just let me know. That would have been the easiest thing for me to do at that point, with so much upheaval, so much change, so much emotional trauma, and then getting my first home, moving out of home. So there was a lot going on. And actually, I decided I was going to continue with my decision. And so I did leave. I did start a new career, a new role, very challenging one at that, given the type of character there was at the time, and managed to deal with everything and got through it. And that showed me what I'm capable of, and that whatever's thrown at me, I can deal with it. It helped me build my resilience, my tenacity, my inner strength, my emotional strength, and so the point being here is, you don't know what you're capable of until it's in front of you. So I have had experience of that. And obviously now, having chosen to leave my corporate career, I've now created my own coaching practice. Again, taking a big risk, not knowing what the end result's going to be, not having certainty day to day on what's going to happen. But there's loads of pluses to it. In fact, a great sense of freedom and the ability to do things like this, which I love to do, which is sharing stories, food for thought, strategies, best practices, guidance, and all the other things that we talk about here. So I hope that's been useful for you, and you've had some food for thought from that and something to take away and consider. Nicola, let's have a look what you're saying here. What limiting belief is stopping you from trying something new? Yeah, really powerful question. When you're thinking about, I wouldn't mind doing that, but no, I won't do it. Well, why? What is it? What is it that is stopping you? Great question. What decision did you have to make to become a professional public speaker? That's a story for another day. But in short, I was like most people. I hated public speaking. So when I was at work in my career and I had to do presentations, I used to absolutely dread them. I'd be feeling ill. I wouldn't sleep for a couple of nights. I'd be rehearsing and memorizing word for word what I needed to say, which is all the wrong things to do. And the decision to become a professional speaker, I joined a speaking academy, and the idea at the time sounded great. So I signed up, and then I turned up at the first like training, and then the expletives started coming out my mouth as I realized what I'd actually signed up to, which was public speaking. So I kind of put myself into it. The reason, or the decision, the reason to do it was because I recognized that I started the training while I was still in my corporate life, but with a view that I knew I would be leaving in a couple of years' time, because I'd already started my coach training rather, and NLP and so forth. I just saw it as another skill in my toolkit, let's say. I didn't think I'd ever be doing something like this, doing lives on camera. Believe me, I only started this 2 years ago, and it took me a while to be able to speak to camera. Believe me, it's not like speaking on stage. Put me in a room of people, I'm good. Put me on here 2 years ago, no, couldn't do it. So again, another thing I've overcome. So the decision to make, it was, I've got to put myself out there, because in due course, I knew I was going to create my coaching practice. I needed to then make myself known, and the whole kind of speaker circuit and conferences and opportunities to speak was starting to grow. So it was a great way to get yourself known, to share your story, to share things like what I'm sharing today. So it was, yeah, let me go do it, figure it out. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I mean, I was terrible. The first few trainings I attended was shocking, embarrassingly shocking for me, because obviously everyone there is encouraging you and supportive, but inside I was just like, oh my God. And it took me a long, long time to really overcome all of that. So yeah, great one. A great question, Nicola. I hadn't thought about that question. It's a good one. Have faith. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Have trust, have faith. Great to hear. Hi, Sean. How are you doing? And how did you deal with rejection? How did you deal with rejection? My view on that is, if I get rejected for something, it wasn't for me. That simple. Or maybe it just wasn't the right time. I've had situations where something didn't happen at the time, but then it evolved later on. And actually, I was probably better placed or better positioned for whatever it was at that time. As I said, I did a talk back in, I think it was November, about rejection being your redirection. Again, it's the meaning we put onto things. If we get rejected, do we then tell ourselves, well, we failed? That's your choice to put that meaning onto it. Or do you put a meaning onto it that, okay, what have I learned from this? What am I going to do differently the next time? Why do I think it didn't work out? Can I elicit some feedback? Let's say if it was an interview. So those kinds of questions. So again, everything comes back to the meaning we put on it, and that's how we get to create our life and our reality. So I've overrun a little bit today. Thank you for your engagement, Nicola, Sean, and for others who watched live or on replay. If you've watched on replay, do hashtag replay, so I know you've checked this out. Any more questions, comments, do leave them for me. I will come back and respond. If you have any specific questions you'd rather take offline, then do direct message me. And as always, I will be here same time next week, sharing with you yet another topical conversation. In the meantime, do remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is in the comments. So Sharon has kindly popped that in there. So if you haven't already done so, there's some amazing podcast interviews in there. Really, honestly, there's 50 now, I think, that we've published. So you've probably got about 40 or so in there so far that have been uploaded, and they all have amazing profound takeaways. So go and head over and check those out now. And if you haven't already done so, then do grab my copy of the Personal Brand Playbook. Again, the link is in the comments. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Nicola. Great to have you guys here, and for everyone else as well. Thank you for joining, and I will see you next time. Until then, remember to build your influence, remember to make an impact, and to be remembered for the right reasons by showing up as the best version of you. Take care, guys, and I will see you soon.